monitoring Donald Trump to see how he's going to update what happened last night and what he's going to do. Ben Cohen of Ben and Jerry's fame is with us right now, escaping, I assume, from Vermont. Ben, one of the things that we did learn, Ben, in case you've been listening to some of what Trump said about the dust-up at a Chicago event last night that prompted its cancellation after a number of people were arrested and people were getting hit, and it got nasty. That there are a lot of Bernie Sanders folks there. So I was looking for you in the crowd, and I didn't see you. But again, you probably took your private jet right back, and here you are now. But what do you make of that there were a lot of Bernie Sanders protesters there? That's what Donald Trump was saying.
You know, I got no idea who was there, but I can tell you that Donald Trump brings out a lot of strong feelings. And there's, I believe, the fairly significant majority of Americans do not agree with Donald Trump and are embarrassed by the way he's conducting himself. And
well, that's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. But the reason why I mention it's not unique to Trump, right? I mean, Bernie Sanders had to deal with Black Lives protesters firsthand when they stormed his stage he was speaking on.
Well,
so there is a lot of this going on out there, right?
Well, there's two different ways of handling protesters. I mean, there've always been protesters. There's always been people that were trying to disrupt political speeches. But going and telling people to rough them up, to beat them up, is not American. It's not. It's not what I want to see in my country.
So it was his response to the protesters more than the fact that protesters showed up that got your attention, because there's this thought out there today, and a number of papers have been reporting it this morning, that was manufactured protest, that a lot of left-wing groups sort of signed up together to attend this event, maybe other Trump events, to just mess it up, cause a lot of controversy, get a lot of television attention, and blame it all on Donald Trump.
I don't agree with that. I believe that there are huge numbers of people that are totally disgusted with Donald Trump. And
you don't think there's a possibility, Ben, that some, and I agree with you, there are many who would genuinely want to protest, but that others are sort of gunned on by, you know, the Media Matters folks or others, George Soros sympathetic groups that might want to just show up?
Force anybody to come to some protest. I mean, maybe some people said, "Hey, let's go to a protest." You know,
have you ever done that?
These were not paid professionals, you know, going out there. These were regular old people that are disgusted by what Trump is saying.
But you could see what he's saying, that some just come out of the blue, show up, and then we later come to find out that they were recruited, right?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, I hear Trump saying that. I mean, I hear a bunch of lies coming out of his mouth. You know, I mean, I'm happy to explore it, but I don't have any facts and data on it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I don't want to get it back and forth there, but again, I mentioned Bernie Sanders being, you know, confronted with protesters. I think we're taking a peek at that, and other events where we've seen Hillary Clinton deal with the same. Do you ever worry, whatever your views are, and this is a case where they actually stormed the stage you were speaking at, do you ever worry for the safety in general, candidates and their people in this environment that, you know, you and I could probably remember 1968. I was just a lad myself, but my point being that could we be revisiting something like that? The anger is such that, yeah, it could get much nastier.
No, quite frankly, that doesn't cross my mind. What does cross my mind is the arrogance of the person up there speaking, saying, "Go take that protester and rough him up, beat him up." You know, that's not civilized. I mean, it's illegal. I mean, no, you can't go beat people up. That's not the way I want my country to run.
I don't know if you caught the beginning of his remarks here in Ohio, but there obviously looked like there were a couple of protesters of the group, and he was being very subdued with them. He wasn't saying any of that stuff. You could quickly interpret that as maybe realizing after what happened in Chicago, he's trying to dial it back. He still juices up the crowd on his core bread and butter issues. But what did you think of that he didn't go after the protester or protesters? In fact, invited the one protester, I think, and this is just off of my memory, so it could be, you know, accepted with a grain of salt, Ben, that stay there, stay for the rally.
Yeah, that's a much more reasonable way of dealing with protesters. I would support that way of dealing with protesters, but riling up a crowd and telling people to go beat them up is, I mean, it's typical Trump.
All right, so you're not a fan of Donald Trump. I've concluded that much in this exchange. Let me ask you a little bit about, on the left, what's going on. Bernie Sanders, when no one saw it coming, won Michigan. It calls into question all the other polls that have him behind in these so-called Rust Belt states, and that maybe he could, cobble together victories in Ohio. He could do the same. Maybe in North Carolina, Illinois, states that are up for grabs for Democrats as well. Florida, a possibility. Do you see a come from behind potential win for him?
I do. The fact of the matter is that every political race that he's ever run has been come from behind. And that's the way it was when he ran for mayor in Vermont. Right. It's the way it was when he ran for the House, and the way it was when he ran for the Senate. And, what's going on is that, he just didn't start out being that well known. But as people come to learn more and more about him, they support him more and more because they see that here's finally a politician that's honest, consistent, that has the interests of working people at heart. I was interested. It was interesting to me to see that there are some points of agreement between Trump and Sanders. One, of course, is about free trade, what I call greed trade. And they both are opposed to these so-called free trade agreements.
But yet you told me when we last chatted, Ben, that if Bernie Sanders didn't win, you would support, these are some protesters showing up in Vidalia, Ohio. We'll keep an eye on it. But that you would support Hillary Clinton if she ended up being the nominee, even though it was her husband who orchestrated those same deals that you hate.
I don't know if I said I would support Hillary. I haven't really decided, to be quite honest.
Then I beg your pardon. I thought you did say that. You would support the eventual Democratic nominee. So that's a news alert right there. So if Bernie Sanders doesn't get the nomination, Ben, you would what? What would you do?
I haven't figured it out, but I'm not convinced. I'm not sure what I would do.
All right, Ben, I did not know that. I apologize. Ben Carson, always good. Keep making the great ice. Ben Cohen. Ben, it's been that day. I had Ben Carson on earlier, so I apologize. It's the last time. This is the first show I started without having my chunky monkey. That's what happens.
That's
so,
the problem.
Ben Cohen, thank you very, very much.